Okay, I want to try to go on making a case for myself in this country that's branded me as if I'm some kind of a bizarre, weirdo, scary villain that nobody likes. People don't want to have anything to do with. People are afraid of. They don't want their children near me. And they don't want people near me either. And I'm supposed to be certified as a paranoid schizophrenic, which is a very dangerous person. To most people, including the people in that business that branded me this way, I've read that some of the most negative people toward people like me are in that very business of, saying, oh, it's a disease like, these mental diseases are just like having a physical disease like, what's their favorite, diabetes or cancer, right? It's nothing on the person, but I'm telling you, I'm an old man now. I've lived under the outcast status that this whole thing put me in. So at the end of my life here, I am trying with all my might to speak out. So I want to go back over this date I had way back when I was a young man. And I'm going to go, if I can, point by point. I haven't done any preparing for this. Like, I haven't practiced, haven't written down any notes. I'm just launching into this. I've tried to present this date previously in recordings like this one. So those previous attempts are back there in the past somewhere. I haven't even gone over them. I haven't done nothing in preparation for this. So who's the video for? It's for me. And let me just say it's for me. So let me try to address how what I'm saying about a mark being left on me. A readable mark. I'm calling it a mark. From having been male raped repeatedly in secret by my own father while I was growing up. What this did to me, a person with a, how do you say this, sterling reputation as a beloved child, a well-liked friend, and a good student and a good athlete. How did all that change to the person I've been for over 40 years of my life? Somebody looked upon as diseased, scary, untrustworthy. I've even been accused of being in the mafia. People say, we don't get it. This guy's supposed to be just Fruit Loop crazy. We don't see that, so he's got to be in the mafia. That's what it is. Whew, oh boy. I'm in the if I'm not Fruit Loop crazy, I'm a criminal. Out murdering people or God knows what. Oh boy. So this has really been my life, and I'm at the end of my life. I am in the 70s. And people in my family died in their 70s. So before I die, I'm going to try to say something on behalf of myself, because nobody out there in the world wants to say anything on my behalf. Let me say something if I can. Now, for me, I'm going to say it's for me. Now, I went out on this date when I was 22 years old. And graduated from the University of Maryland with a degree in English, study of English literature. Not a teaching degree in English, no. I had no desire to be like a public school teacher. I think you had to be an English education major to get that kind of a degree, and I wasn't interested in that. I was strictly interested in the study of English literature, and that's what I got my degree in. And let me say this on my behalf, that got the degree in 3.5 years, meaning I started fall 1972, and I completed the requirements for my degree by December 1975. I did that by going to summer school, taking a few classes, and I did this without asking like an advisor, what can I do to graduate? Or no, I just did it on my own. I looked in the book. It said, you have so many credits, you graduate, and I planned it out my own. Did I talk to anybody? Not a soul. Well, I didn't have any friends even at that time. Now, why not? Well, I'm saying these rapes occurred, mainly I'm saying when I was around 14, but I now think that it's possible I'm one of those babies who was being sexually abused at birth. Okay, well, I don't know. I could be. I'm not here to argue that right now. I'm here to say that when I was 14, all signs and indications are that at that age I was being subjected to male rape every so often. How often, I don't know. But, you know, there are clues that it was at least, let's say, once a month, maybe more often than that. Okay, so I'm saying that here's how the rapes occur. My father was a medical doctor, and he was a radiologist. And so he showed me at his place of work where ether was kept. Okay, up on a shelf in a brown plastic bottle, as I remember, about this big, like this. Okay, and you unscrew like a silver cap, and the ether's in there. So you had access to ether, and ether was used as a way of putting people to sleep for medical procedures back in the 1960s. I have not researched this at all. I haven't researched when was ether used. I have not researched that, but I had a father who was a medical doctor in a hospital, and he used to take me into the hospital often when he was called in. He would be called in at night, maybe 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, and he'd take me with him. Let's say he hated me. He didn't like me, and I didn't like him, but for some weird reason, which I now understand, but too much to go into, he would take me with him. He didn't take other of his children that I know of. He took me. He took me on moments like that. He had to go into the hospital, read some film. Somebody was in an accident, or God knows why. He'd tell me, and I'd go in with him. He'd go to his desk, read the films, and go home. And so, on other outings, you know, he would say, I need some shoes. And I would have to go with him. I'm going to buy some clothes. I would have to go with him. These weren't like cuddly little father and son outings. He didn't like me at all. And I didn't like, as I keep saying about him, I never liked or trusted this man. Ever. So, any yard work, and he used to do his own yard work, I was there at his side, not the other siblings. I had 4 siblings, 2 brothers, 2 sisters, None of them were expected to do yard work. I was. I was at his side, any yard work to be done. I mowed the lawn. That was my job. I shoveled the snow. That was my job. Not the other four siblings. That was my job. Now, seem weird? At the time, I just accepted it because I don't know why. I think the reason why is I must have suspected that I was not his biological son, and that's why I was expected to do these things and the other children weren't. That must have been the reason. Okay, it was an unconscious argument being made that I'm not his son. What am I doing in his house, eating his food and taking shelter under his roof when I'm not his? Right? He didn't want me to be there. So I grow up under these conditions, and I'm a star up until the age around 14 when these rapes really start to happen. Now, prior to that, I was a star. I was the best athlete in the family, the best student. What are you going to say? The most popular? How are you going to measure things like this? I had lots of friends. I was well liked among my friends. And at that time, people would say that a kid who was doing well in every way at school and at home and in sports and other things, in schoolwork, this kid was what people at that time said was well adjusted. So I was well adjusted. I was in no way a problem. Okay. Now, around the age of 14, my fortunes started to change. And first of all, I hit delayed maturation. I was not maturing like the other boys. And in addition, there were no girls anywhere in sight for me. I couldn't find any. I didn't run into any. I wasn't in social situations where I would meet any, and there were no girls, and I wanted a girl, but there weren't any. So even if you are in delayed maturation, I'm sure there are experts out there who say that delayed maturation does not keep a boy from having relationships with girls. I can see that might be true, but nevertheless, no relationships with girls, and friendships that I had started to dissolve around the age of 16 when I was well into the delayed maturation. I was like, my God, I'm 5'7" and still like a little boy, and things are not happening for me at all, right? So, well, I was being preyed on by this man, and I didn't know it. What he was doing was he had me alone in the basement of our house, down there alone. I'd always had a room with a brother or two prior to that, and then suddenly I'm put down in the remodeled basement alone where all this soundproof ceiling is put up on the ceiling before people even knew that soundproof ceiling existed. What's with the soundproof ceiling, and why am I going down there alone, like the king of the family, Okay, so I'm being set up all along to look like this coddled favorite son. Oh my God, I'm the favorite son of this guy? Oh God, that's the impression he wanted to give his siblings, and then he puts me down as king of the basement? Well, he's down there, and what does he do? He watches me. He sees there's times when I never wake up. And at those times, he goes into my room through my locked door, which is easy to unlock, and he applies some ether to my nose and mouth, makes sure I don't wake up. Male rapes me, cleans up, and leaves. Now, he thinks that apparently I'm not going to know about this, and nobody else will either, but he's wrong. Because as I say, this leaves some kind of a bizarre mark on me. It leaves a mark. I don't know how to describe it. Let me say that I've been watching unconscious communications of others, and I've been interested in this person I've been calling Bashuasi, and I'm not going to identify who that person is. I'm going to say, anybody asks me, I won't say who it is. Okay? I'm not going to identify this person. Now, let me say that I was in an affair with a Nazi concentration camp survivor 27 years older than I was when I was around 25 years old. Have I ever identified that person? No. Have I ever told anybody about that affair? No. The only person I ever told was my wife. And that's the only person. And I've made recordings where I've admitted to that affair, but I look online, there are no viewers of these recordings, so it's still my wife is virtually the only one I ever told about this. I never told people in the behavioral sciences. I never told anyone at any time. Yet I did have that affair, so I protected this person's identity. Okay? And so I'm going to protect Bashuasis as well. I'm not going to reveal who Bashuasi is. I'm just not. So let me say, I've seen communications come from her that probably unconscious, and I think by watching these communications, I've determined that Bashuasi is a bisexual. Okay? So that she sometimes has had sex with women. And one of the way women have same-sex sex is something they call scissor sex, okay? So I've seen Bashuasi while talking, unconsciously going like this with her hands. Something like this. While talking, what's she doing? She's saying last night she had scissor sex with a woman. That's what she's doing. Now, people going to argue with that? I'll say 100%. If you could get the truth from her, she would say, yes, that is exactly what I was doing. Was I doing that? I didn't even know it was. Yeah, I did. I had same-sex sex. It's called scissor sex with a woman last night. And that's what I was doing? No, I didn't know I was doing that. I was talking. Okay, so there are all kinds. I'm too embarrassed to show the kind of symbolisms I've seen from boys and men, but I have often seen this one coming from boys and men too. I've seen this. I've seen a boy or a man unconsciously go like this. When, let's say, the glare of an older man comes on them and they'll go like this. They don't even know they're doing it. I've seen this many times, okay? These are examples of how we're expressing ourselves unconsciously about how or what we're doing sexually, okay? So I'm saying my body knew I was being raped the way I was, and I was, what I'm going to use the metaphor, broadcasting these sexual episodes that I didn't even know consciously were happening. But I was still broadcasting that they weren't happening unconsciously, and people were reading that on me. And so what was happening? I was being misunderstood. So how was I being misunderstood? I was thought to be a homosexual. Women didn't want to have anything to do with me for that reason. This guy is weird somehow, okay? If they didn't think it was a homosexual, they thought I was doing something weird sexually, and they didn't like it. They didn't like what they were seeing, okay? And so I'm saying, once again, this is my expression, 100% this is true. And this mark, which I'm saying unconscious expressions of what was going on, I'm calling it a mark, this completely alienated me from women and men as well, leaving me accused of being severely mentally diseased, someone who had withdrawn from others and was acting inappropriately and all kinds of accusations came my way. But the final result of all of these rapes was to make me look like somebody I wasn't. And this somebody I wasn't was somebody under high suspicion from others. this somebody I wasn't, people were suspicious of deeply. They were thinking, this guy is hiding something. Even one of my own brothers used to say to me, you're hiding. I'm hiding. Am I hiding now? I've never hidden. I am just, here's the sign in sign language. I'm expressing, I've always done this. I have never been hiding, and yet I appear to be somebody who's hiding something. I'm in hiding, whatever. I'm weird. There's something weird I'm doing. Nothing of the kind has ever been true. The truth is, and it takes me till age 65 to figure out, what people are seeing is these inexplicable rapes that were happening across my youth that I did not know were happening. And these rapes left this mark on me, this inexplicable mark that has made me suspect and made me seem like something I'm not. And from there, the thing has snowballed. I'm a suspected villain. I'm somebody who's somehow involved with evil. And all of this is just snowballing, okay, into an avalanche of false accusations and a ruined life, okay, that I'm in no way responsible for. In no way. I'm baffled throughout my life, all the way up until now, at the responses I get everywhere from everyone. And I'm being blamed. I'm continually being blamed. And I was trying to figure out, how is this happening to me? And so finally I figured it out. What I'm saying is why I have met with this ostracism. It's not just that I was declared to be crazy when I was 28. Because had this mark, as I'm saying, not been on me, I might have explained my way out of that, right? But not knowing how I was marked and therefore unable to escape all the suspicion and everything else, that left me the puzzle to figure out, which I finally did at around the age of 65. I'm now in my 70s. And I want to say, I was going to talk about a date that I had where everything went wrong with this woman. And it looked like I was doing wrong. But the truth is, every single person I was encountering on the night of this date was responding to this person I wasn't. And that's why everything was going wrong on the date. Not because I was screwing up the date or being disrespectful to the date, and so on. I was being screwed, as I've been all the way up till now in my life. Okay? Now, I never discussed the date in detail, but I've sketched out why it was that date was not successful, and there were no dates at all for me after that, pretty much, until I met my wife at age 40, the woman I was going to marry. And the short answer toward how it was that she married me or she got into a relationship with me, the short answer is she's severely handicapped, okay? She's profoundly deaf, and she's unable to communicate with spoken language, okay? I'm going to say it that way. So she can't talk to you like me. A lot of deaf people can. They can talk even though they're deaf, but my wife cannot. So my wife is, here's the sign. Mouth closed. She's not going to talk, because if she talks, you're not going to understand what she's saying, okay? So my wife is severely handicapped. She can't hear and she can't talk, okay? She's raised in a foreign land where she's severely abused. She's supposed to have had an education. Her education probably is not the equal of a second grader in the United States, and yet she's got a college degree. I'm sorry to say that. It doesn't mean she's not intelligent. She's a highly intelligent woman. Highly intelligent. Just her education is It's not there at all. Has nothing to do with her intelligence. It's the fact that she was taught how to sew and this kind of thing where she went to school. Not like kids in the United States. What's 2 plus 2? She would say, take the needle, put the thread through it, and start sewing. This was her education, okay? So I'm simplifying, okay, but it was almost that bad. And it was also extremely abusive. I could go in detail on that. Now, this is the woman who marries me. That's not all about her, okay? She's about to be sent. She's 28, around 20, she's in her 30s at that time. She's been in the United States a few years, getting an education, and now she's going to be sent back to her country because she's going to graduate. And she can't get an extension to stay in the United States. She's been here on a student visa. When the student visa's up, she's got to go back to her country. She doesn't want to do that. Okay? So, first of all, she's older. She's in her mid-30s. She's not a college student like 22. She's a college student like 34. And she's desperate, right? She doesn't want to stay in her home country. She doesn't want to be sent back. So she's got all this stuff going against her, and she meets me. A complete outcast who shouldn't be. Just like she is. She should be a highly intelligent woman. She shouldn't be an outcast because she's deaf. So anyway, we meet, and I'm supposed to be severely diseased, scary, a danger to everyone. To hell with that. I'm her ticket to stay in the United States. She's mine. And we get together. We marry. She becomes a citizen through marriage to me. She doesn't have to go back to that country. And that's how I get someone who's as wonderful as she is as a wife. And I say, as far as she goes, she picked the right guy here. By ignoring all those false accusations, she got quite a good husband here. Never been unfaithful, never wanted to be. Been successful in our way, and so on and so forth. Now, that's how I got around that mark when I was 40. Okay? I met somebody who was absolutely desperate. And it worked. As desperate as I was, because I was 40, I was thinking, if I don't get married myself, I'd miss the whole thing too. So I was going to talk about that date, but I didn't. Instead, I talked about the general situation I was in that wrecked that date, wrecked my life. And my life continues to be wrecked. I mean, my wife and I are in virtual solitary confinement. We've been in that the entire 30 years of our marriage. Just her and me together. And I gotta say, I am disgusted with the life I've had in the United States and the lies I was raised on, the lies I continue to hear, and the abuse my wife and I have had to suffer, and our son as well. And I'm trying to speak out at the end here, because I want to leave the United States before I pass away, and I want to go on making this case for the outrageous fraud perpetrated on me here in this country, and the lies, the cowardly liars, the cowards, and the bullies that rule things here, that put me in this life. I want this story out if I can get it out before I pass away, and so I'm doing my best.